All right, welcome in. I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about, is Joe Milton good? I'm going to be going over a few things. I'm going to be going over his college football career. I'm going to be going over the preseason game you saw tonight. I'm going to be going over what you saw in training camp, or what you have seen in training camp so far. But before I get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You can always wait until the end. Hopefully, I will have earned both those. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So, here's a few things I'm trying to set out when I'm trying to answer the question of, is Joe Milton good? So I can only imagine what it's like for Boston media people today and consumers of, Patriots content, because while I assume that people who are actually dialed into the team are going to be rational when it comes to their evaluation of Joe Milton and what we saw tonight for the New England Patriots and what's been going on with their QB situation all offseason, taking Maye 3rd overall and then taking Milton in the 6th round. I can only imagine. I have so many friends in New England, and oh man, I do not envy what any of them or what any of you are going to have to listen to, if you're a Boston fan and you're driving to work today. And basically, the thing that's interesting to me is I feel like that Joe Milton has gotten more training camp hype than Drake Maye. Drake Maye is just kind of he was a sort of project guy. I don't hear anything about how he's been killing it. I hear that the chemistry is just not there yet between any of the young receivers and the QB, and that's completely fine. He's getting a lot of leeway towards that. I haven't seen anyone call him a bust or anything, but the camp hype for Milton has been, has been ramping up. I'm seeing Twitter clips of him doing backflips and everything like that. So, without further ado, that was my long intro. It's time to talk about Joe Milton's college football career. So, in high school, he was a 3-star recruit from Olympia High School in Florida. He was the 15th best pro-style quarterback in the country. Now, one thing that's interesting to me is he was not listed as a dual-threat quarterback, and I feel like whoever listed him kind of screwed up with that assessment, unless he just got that much better when he was, kind of going through the motions at Michigan as the backup. But he was the 60th recruit in Florida, I believe, class of 2018. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So 2018 and 2019, not much action behind Shea Patterson, who I believe is now in the UFL, but don't quote me on that. He was only the backup. As you could see, 3 for 4, 58 yards, 1 interception. I assume that was during garbage time. Few rushing attempts, few rushing touchdowns. What was interesting to me is every year before 2020, he had exactly 1 rushing touchdown. So yeah, interesting little tidbit there. So in 2020, he started for Michigan, but he sucked. He was legitimately so bad. First few games he played, a lot of people, I looked back at Reddit threads from that time, and a lot of people were saying that not only was he bad, but the entire supporting cast played worse with Joe Milton. So then obviously they benched him for Cade McNamara. And then in 2021, so when he transferred to Tennessee, he was actually the starter for the Tennessee Volunteers. And had he, kept going and not gotten injured, I'm interested to see the career trajectory of Hendon Hooker. I assume that Volunteer fans were eating good tonight after, seeing Hooker and Milton play in the preseason. Hope Hooker recovers from his concussion, by the way. Feel terrible that happened to him. Hopefully he recovers quickly, especially because that was his first time, I think, getting actual, reps in a long time. So, yeah. But last year, he balled out for a good Vols team. A lot of people were saying that they took a step back on offense, but think about it. They lost Cedric Tillman. They lost Jalen Hyatt, who were 2 of the best wide receivers in college football in 2022. So I don't know any Tennessee fans that were realistically expecting more of the same. I mean, I could see why you'd think that going from Hooker to Milton, but Hooker was honestly just a much better quarterback, much better, at least at the college level. So, yeah. But part of what makes Milton intriguing is his upside. And when I look at him as a prospect, I'm just okay, he has a lot of athletic upside, but the arm strength is great, and so is the athleticism, 4.34, 40-yard dash, 35-inch vertical. Broad jump was also off the charts, but here's why he was an incredibly frustrating player. I'm going to show you some clips as to why I think he was an incredibly frustrating player, but I felt like he could have gone higher than the 6th round, but there is a reason. And NFL teams, they tell you exactly what they feel about players when they use their picks on these guys. So it's an actions speak louder than words league. So he was a 6th round prospect. we have to include that in our evaluation. I'm going to full screen this for you guys. All right, so here's just some reps of him against Georgia, and the reason I chose Georgia is because there's a few plays in particular that I wanted to break down. Like, see, he did have a guy with a step. He did have the receiver with a step, but overthrew him. This one was actually a pretty good throw towards the boundary, but once again, my main issue with him is there's no touch on any of these passes. Like, everything is, the accuracy was a huge question mark, and this is a big reason why he was ultimately, he fell to the 6th round, because when you watch him, you're going to see that the accuracy was a problem. Like, I believe this is going to be downfield, and the defender's going to make, or at least have a chance to make a play on it. So, yeah, there's just, the reason why I chose Georgia, once again, is because it's probably the best college team he's played against. So, yeah. And that last sack you saw against Georgia, I wouldn't hold against him because they were down 28, so it's kind of like a whatever thing. But here's more of him against Florida. And once again, you look at it and you're just like, okay, receiver maybe had a step on the DB, and had he just been a touch more accurate, I feel like a lot of these things could have been completed. And didn't really love the play call there of a screen on 3rd and 9. But he went into Florida, and he did not put up a very good performance, all things considered. Threw another screen pass. So, yeah, I believe Tennessee also ran a lot this year with Jalen Wright. So, pretty interesting there. But I think this play in particular is really interesting because I'm just not really sure what he was looking at. Like, this is just zero spatial awareness. So, that'll probably lower your draft stock by a round or two at very minimum. But, yeah, so with a QB like Joe Milton, you look at everything. You look at, okay, you know, he's very toolsy. But keep in mind, he is a 24-year-old quarterback who has been doing this after 5 years of doing stuff like that after 5 years of being in college football. So that is why he fell to the 6th round. The upside, it is what it is, but also he is still, you know, making those sorts of plays for being an older college football quarterback, and that was just unacceptable. So going into New England, what is everything about this year? What was their situation, and why did they draft him? So he was the 193rd pick in the draft. New England used their 7th pick in the entire draft on him. So they took their guys. They took Drake Maye. They took Javon Baker. They took Jalen Polk in the 2nd round. So they took, by capital, it is shown that 6 guys were more important to the New England Patriots than Joe Milton was. And I get the rationale for why they did this. If you watch the preseason tonight, you will know that Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, seeing their noodle arms is something that New England was sick and tired of. So Elliott Wolf, he comes in, he says, okay, that is not going to be happening here. We're not just going to have guys that max out their arm strength at 25 yards downfield. And last year, it's not a bad idea to take flyers at the QB position, because New England, they've been very prone to this over the past few years. You think about last year, they brought in Malik Cunningham, or maybe it was the year before. I can't remember. But last year was also the year of the backup quarterback. It seemed like every QB was getting hurt, and ultimately you can go as far as your QB takes you. So investing into a backup, especially with only a 6th round pick, not necessarily a bad idea, or at least a guy who can potentially be your backup. And he was brought in to compete with Zappi, not Maye or Brissett. But yeah, so here are some reports from past training camp and why this guy got so much steam even heading into this game. So there was stuff saying that, oh, Joe Milton put on a show at day 3 of Patriots training camp. Now, I actually did look at that tweet. It's him doing a backflip, so it's really nothing special. But there's some smoke as far as Joe Milton outplaying Drake Maye through 6 practices. And there was a Sports Illustrated article talking about how this guy from the Boston Globe predicted Joe Milton to outright win the starting job for the Patriots. So what a twist that would be, deciding all offseason between Maye and Brissett. Yeah, so either way, I don't think we're going to have to wait long to see Drake Maye hit the field, because ultimately you did take him 3rd overall. And guys that get drafted that high, they just find their way onto the field. Whether it's the starter looking terrible, whether it's the starter getting hurt, it just seems to happen really fast, especially for quarterbacks who are drafted highly. And there's not one solution as far as how to draft a quarterback. There's not, oh, we'll keep Drake Maye on our team for 3 years and we'll have him sit like Jordan Love did. There's also okay, we're going to throw Drake Maye into the fire week 1. Again, it's a case-by-case basis. I'm not even sure what the answer is. I don't know if anybody knows what the answer is. But yeah, ultimately, that is kind of what's been going on. in training camp. Now with this game against the Carolina Panthers, so I was watching college football. I wasn't like super tapped into this, but I was like, okay, it's the first game that's not a preseason game. This is pretty cool. But it was an absolute snooze fest as a neutral. I don't really know what I expected, seeing that tonight's game was going to be Jack Plummer starting for the Carolina Panthers and not Bryce Young or Andy Dalton. So my expectations for this game going in were very, very low, and this game somehow far exceeded what I thought it would be in a bad way. And I was just playing college football, so like I was playing college football right here, and I wasn't like super keen on keeping an eye on the game or anything like that. But once again, I'm just like, dang, preseason football is not as fun as I remember. But the game did get exciting. There were 2 points where I was actually excited during the game. I was excited to see Drake Maye come in, and I was excited to see Joe Milton come in, because ultimately the best part about the preseason is seeing the new rookies. Not only do you get to see them in their new uniform, but you get like a tiny sliver of a glimpse of what they could be in the NFL. But even though you're not going to be like all the guys that Joe Milton played against, I doubt any of them end up becoming like mainstays on NFL rosters, like getting meaningful snaps. If anything, these guys are probably all going to be selling insurance within like a week or whatever. But I'm not surprised he did well. He's an experienced college football starter. He's an experienced SEC starter. And he was playing against like 6 stringers. But there might be something here. But the only real conclusion you can take away from tonight is that Joe Milton is better than Bailey Zappi. So yeah, let's play this video as well. Hold on, I'm actually going to full screen it. All right, let's do this. So you got nice little out route there. Quick little out route to Javon Baker. And there's going to be a play soon that kind of took over Twitter and made me really interested in watching this game. So I got a nice little check down to Jennings. Once again, nothing really special, nothing really crazy. And that seemed to be the Patriots' game plan tonight. They weren't coming out, they weren't like throwing bombs or anything like that. But yeah, here's Drake Maye's best plays. This was the one that was like crazy to me. And so the crazy thing to me is watch Carolina's like edge rusher, pass rusher up here. He has a straight shot to the quarterback, and he just completely decides to like not attack him at all. He just runs into the blocker. Like, I don't know what this guy's doing here. It's just bad football altogether. But here, I'm gonna rewind that just so we can play this clip in real time. I'm actually gonna yeah. So this was pretty awesome. I've seen a lot of people. It reminded me of those college football 25 TikToks where people just run around and around on the field. But yeah, people, like you see, Pats Nation was getting hyped up due to this play, because this is something that they probably have not seen in a long time. Even going back to Tom Brady, like, was Tom Brady running around 5-10 yards behind the line of scrimmage like this? Like, absolutely not. And I mean, he was a capable runner, but he was not one to, be mobile and have design runs for or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. There's just a few more like checkdowns sprinkled in here. I'm waiting for the touchdown. But yeah, you see him evade the pocket. You see him step up. You see him finally take off. And again, for something like Alex Van Pelt's offensive scheme, to have something like this potentially in your arsenal, even if he is ultimately the third stringer, I think Patriots fans would be pretty excited, because, if you can't hit Jalen Polk or Demario Douglas or Javon Baker downfield, this is what he can do for you. And yeah, so this right here is the touchdown. So after a whole snooze fest of a game, we finally got something exciting, and it was a nice little touchdown pass there. Only about 20-25 yard throw, but still very good on Milton. Good route there too by the Patriots wide receiver. So yeah, so that was basically it. There's a few things that Joe Milton probably needs to clean up, and that's completely okay. He did get a quarter and a half of time, which is a decent amount of work, especially for a non-starter or non-projected backup QB. So yeah, the only thing, like I said, that you can really take away from this, Bailey Zappi's time in New England should be done. New England is going towards a more modern approach on the offensive side of the ball, and based on what they've had to deal with Belichick, with Bill Belichick and his ability to build an offense. I could not be more excited for them. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Joe Milton. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.